I personally think ozonated water is the best mouthwash you could ever use. I mean, you'll notice that if you're susceptible to a lot of plaque buildup, that plaque buildup will diminish immensely with the use of ozonated water. So one other cool thing I like to talk about with ozone is how it's also used with like joints. So a lot of people who have joint pain, they'll also do this therapy with ozone called.
Inventor and author of Primal Habits, Uninflamed, Master of You, and Body Thrive, and soon to be released, The Witch's Cancer Journal.
A weaver of words and ancient worlds into the future.
Plumbing for depth in the playground of your continual reinvention.
Wisdom Rich, Agayana Yohini.
And now the moment we've been waiting for is here.
Ringleader of Club Thrive and Wellness Pro Academy.
A freedom warrior, earth mother, proud mama, devoted wife.
Not your grandmother's Ayurveda. Futurist. Biohacker. Guru and goofball.
Where truth and freedom prevail.
Evolving the ancient into the future.
Welcome to the Thrive with Cate Stillman podcast. Made for you by us.
Hello, everyone. This is Cate Stillman with the Thrive with Cate podcast, and I'm here with Tobias Siegel of promolife.com, which specializes in ozone therapy products. So many of you know with my release of Witch's Cancer Journal that in my explorations of intuitive healing with cancer, I ran into a lot of different things, one of which was having my own home ozone therapy setup. And for those who don't have their own home ozone therapy setup, and you might not have cancer, or you might, or have another scary diagnosis or not, you might wonder how ozone therapy might work for you preventatively, how it might work in terms of microbiome health, how it might work in terms of your wanting to keep your teeth in your mouth for your whole life long and your children's teeth in their mouths their whole life long. And that's why we're going to talk to Tobias today on what is going on Promo Life. So Tobias, why don't you just give us a little bit, I mean, you guys have, this is a family run business going strong for 25 years, like ozone's popping right now. Like give us a little bit about why you guys do Promo Life.
So it really all started, like my dad was really the main person that got it off the ground back in the day. And the crazy thing is like, where did ozone come from? And so it really boils down to his journey looking for different modalities to treat a specific condition he was dealing with. And ultimately he ran into ozone. It was probably one of the quickest results that he found. And so he was dealing with a lot of candida issues. And so he started adding ozone therapy into the mix. Ozone is a really powerful, it can really help eliminate a lot of those negative pathogens in your body. And so you can drink ozonated water, you can do ozone saunas, and it really just like gave his body the additional oomph to essentially cut through it and eliminate that candida issue. He's like in his early 70s, and he looks like he's in his like late 50s, early 60s. And so he's got a garden, so he's doing really well. And honestly, I really think that ozone made a big difference in his life. Now he does a lot of other things. He eats pretty good. He takes his supplements, but it was really that one condition that he had to cut through in order to essentially get his body back on track, or more so balance his terrain to really make him feel better so he can be, who he is today, essentially.
Amazing. I want to interview Frank Schallenberger, who wrote the Ozone Miracle, and like really get into like what happens. But I think if we just go over a little bit in terms of how does ozone bring oxygen into the body? Do you want to just talk a little bit about how ozone therapy works?
Yeah. So ozone is really, really interesting. So it can do a host of really cool things. So I really like to start out with like dealing with, whether it's pathogens. Ozone is negatively charged, and so it attracts itself to a lot of these other pathogens in our body. And if we look at how ozone works, it's an oxidative compound, and it can really help eliminate a lot of different things in our body. What the ozone also does is it generates a mild form of oxidative stress in our body. And that's really key. When we say oxidative stress, some people think that sounds bad, but really it's a very mild form. And what's happening is it's putting our body into a healing crisis. And so it allows our body to essentially regenerate, heal. Ozone is really interesting because our white blood cells actually produce a little bit of ozone, and that's how we fight off a lot of these negative things that we're dealing with. And so our body knows what to do with ozone. It's not a foreign compound that we have no idea what it does. We're pretty used to it. I mean, it's without it, we would not be here. And so the great thing with ozone is, not only does it generate a healing response, it helps reduce inflammation. I mean, it is oxygen. It's basically electrically charged oxygen. You are essentially adding an electrified oxygen to your body, and it really helps promote a healing response. You feel energized. You really do. Like all these people that I talk to, and you including myself, whenever we do ozone, it really amps up our energy. Probably one of the things that people have to be most aware of when they're doing ozone therapy at night is chances are it's going to keep you awake. So it may prevent you from falling asleep because you have more energy.
Yeah. So we're seeing it now show up in regenerative medicine practices, functional medicine, integrative medicine. We see it standard in biological dentist practices. And I know you guys do a lot of business with dentist outfits. I was really disappointed. Like my husband just had a crown. We were down in Mexico and like they didn't have ozone therapy. And I'm like, that should be malpractice for doing deep dental work based on the research at this point.
Oh yeah. I mean, all the dentists that I deal with. So the big takeaway with ozone in dentistry is this. Every single dentist that I talk to who has incorporated ozone into their practice, what they have seen is they have been able to reduce the use of antibiotics with all of their patients. And so that to me is huge. Like we know how bad that stuff is for our bodies. And if we can even see even if they're not completely eliminating it, if we're seeing a pretty large reduction, that to me is huge. And so like it just gives our body a fighting chance, a much better chance to stay sterile in those areas. So we're not going to be developing anything else that goes on. Most of these biological dentists are really incorporating the use of this at home as well, because they see like these patients come back and their teeth look better, they're healthier. And so they're having to do way less, like their teeth are just in a much better place. And so like nobody wants to like lose their teeth. So I really feel like the biological dental side, it's key. The mouth is like a gateway to the overall health of your body. And if you're doing well, chances are your mouth is somewhat healthy.
Yeah, it's the whole thing of like, when people were buying a horse or buying a slave 1,000 years ago, it's like you look the horse in its mouth, right? It's like you look and you see what is going on, and you can tell the health of the individual by the mouth. There's, just a ton of studies on the correlation of mouth infection and colon cancer, of mouth infection and heart disease. Like we see this time and again. So I think for a lot of people, there's a hurdle in understanding that investing in technology that's preventative is by far and away like some of the cheapest investments they can make for their long-term quality of life. So how do you guys find that in terms of, someone understanding that for you to have everything you need at home, my guess is somewhere around $1,500 to $2,000, depending on which one they want to get, if they want a sauna or not sauna with it. I have the one that I can use in the sauna. I have all the little applications, so I can put it in all the different various holes of the body. Getting people over understanding that it's like a one-time life investment, and then you buy more like you just refill your oxygen tank. Talk us a little bit about what you've seen and maybe how the industry is changing and who's buying these for home use now.
So we're seeing a lot of people get into ozone really because, if you're dealing with like a virus or a bacterial issue or anything like that, ozone really gives your body essentially a fighting chance to deal with a lot of those a lot more effectively. We saw that with, obviously with what occurred, the past few years, that it got really, really popular because of that. But the main thing with ozone, there are some. So
like COVID caused Promo Life sales spike.
So COVID, I would say COVID made people aware of the benefits. I always like to rephrase it like this. Whenever we have a major issue happening, such as COVID, and the response from mainstream medicine is we don't have a solution, and then they get mad at individuals for actively seeking out solutions that work, and they like to essentially make fun of them and call people quacks for doing that. That's ridiculous. Like there's a lot
of quack stuff. Like when my dad looked into it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing ozone. and he has the same Lynch syndrome gene, and he looked up on Google, right? Like Google, like imagining that Google is neutral, right? Which is so different than when you look at like, how are other countries, how's Europe using ozone?
So
How's Cuba
ozone,
using ozone?
it's medically approved in Europe. And so the fact that our FDA is viewing it as a non-beneficial, possible harmful treatment is so bizarre. And so it just shows that the alignment with pharmaceutical companies is so strong here. And it's ridiculous. Like the fact that they're unwilling to even like consider it or look at it is just, it blows my mind.
What it comes down to, because you really can't charge that much for a tank of oxygen, or what?
Well, ozone is not patentable. That's what it boils down to.
Oh,
So
it's not patentable. Okay.
if it's not patentable, it's been around for a long time. You can't sell it for $100 a treatment to somebody at home. It just doesn't work like that. So we see this time and time again. Anything that's patentable, it turns into mainstream medicine. If it's not patentable, it usually doesn't make it to that point. And so I think you have to follow the money, if that makes sense.
So in many ways, that's actually to our advantage, right? Because that just means that whatever, you can buy your own home equipment. You can, like on Promo Life, you guys have all of these educational videos. I know when I got my machine from you guys, I was just on the videos, like video.
Yeah.
Like how do I set it up? How do I use it? How do I not breathe it in? Because it can't go into the lungs. How do I use it? How do I understand this gamma? Which is the measurement unit? Like there's a lot of education in there. So you guys have just taken it on, as have any ozone therapy company that wants to basically sell their product, because people don't know how to use it. You haven't
100%.
used it at your doctor's, or you probably haven't really used it at your dentist. They maybe done it to you, but how do you do it yourself? So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, ozone, there are some, hurdles to getting into it. I mean, it does require a pure source of oxygen. So like, we have an oxygen tank right here. This is required to make it work. We go over how to get that. We also can mail it directly to your house if needed. And so, what we try to do is we try to break it up into simple steps to show you what you need to get started. And then we will walk you through, whether it's a Zoom consultation that's free of charge. We'll walk you through how to, set up your equipment, perform the therapies, and then show you how to use all the different pieces. And I think that's really key to get started, because, if you get some stuff in the mail, there's some tubes, there's an ozone generator, there's some accessories. We want the user to know how to properly use all that stuff. And if you're not using it properly, you're not going to get the benefit out of it. And then the word isn't going to spread positively about ozone. So we do make a big point, like anytime somebody buys from us, we have a picture-based manual that shows you exactly what to do. We have videos that walk you through the setup. We also have free Zoom consultations where we will personally, individually walk you through how to do all the therapies. Not everybody takes advantage of that, but it is there for the user free of charge in case they need that additional assistance. That being said, it's not crazy hard to get into ozone. It's not crazy expensive, but it's something that everybody who tries it, they're going to notice. I guarantee you're going to notice a difference in how you feel.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, for me, there was like 30 minutes of, okay, I need to learn how to use this machine. Right. And it was like, okay, I'm going to invest 30 minutes and I should have just called you guys, but I just watched the videos and did it. And then on the other side of it, you're a pro, like, you know how to do it. So there's just that little bit of a curve. Then I had my mom over for her ears and was I have the thing that goes in her ears to help improve hearing. I mean, there's so many applications that people can use at home, given that, whether they're doing insufflations or whether they're putting it on a tooth in their mouth or making their own ozone water or putting it in their ears, or doing the sauna and getting it into their skin. I feel like there's just this little tiny learning curve, and then it's really empowering and you have it for the rest of your life. So it's not like other things like supplements where you need to keep investing to get the benefit. It's like more or less a fixed one-time household investment.
It is. And that is the cool thing with ozone. I mean, I find continuous really cool uses with ozone. Like I use it on my kids if they get pink eye. So like I'll take some ozonated saline, I'll take saline solution, ozonate it, and then put it in their eye. I had I started to develop an eye sty, a few months back. And so I did it for about 5 times. I put a little bit of ozonated saline in my eye, and the next morning it was completely gone. And that's amazing for me, because when I get a sty, it lasts for like 2 weeks. And so the fact that I can get rid of it that quickly was like, that's game changer for me, because like I have to go, to other conferences, I have to do other presentations, and I don't particularly want to look like I have a swollen up eye. And so it was really cool that there's so many cool ozone hacks out there. It's really not complicated to use. Like I make my kids drink the ozonated water when they have a sore throat. It's so great for that. I mean, it's just like a no-brainer. It works so well. You're going to find multiple uses and typically find a lot of benefit from those with ozone.
And I find, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like ozone is prebiotic, meaning that it's not necessarily sterile, because it seems like what it does is kills off the dysbiotic microbes and makes the probiotic or the eubiotic rather microbes stronger. So when we look at it with like gum recession, reversing gum recession, and decreasing infections in the mouth, right? It's like the mouth oralome or the microbiome population gets healthier, right? The dysbiosis goes away. So to me, that means it's not neutral. It's pro-life, like the name of your company.
It is. A good way to describe it. So ozone typically will go after anaerobic bacteria faster than it will the organic. At some point, ozone will eliminate some of the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. But the big takeaway is this: if you're dealing with like gum infections or like gum disease, you have a massive overabundance in the bad bacteria. Okay. There's something else going on in your mouth, and you have to kill all that first. Okay. And if you do a high enough ozone concentration in the mouth, it will absolutely kill the bad bacteria. It'll also kill some of the good bacteria. But what we found, and this has been verified by a lot of ozone doctors that I've talked to, is what they notice is even if you're killing some of the good bacteria in your mouth, you have now allowed that good bacteria substantially more opportunity to repopulate and take back over. And so what they found is when you compare it to antibiotics, your body rebounds exponentially faster with the good bacteria. It's almost like it sets your good bacteria up for better populative growth, because you have now also eliminated what was essentially negatively affecting it. So just like with, our mouths, like you can buy oral probiotic tablets for your mouth. That's a great thing to do. And, I'm all about, supplementing the body with probiotics. I mean, I think you can overdo it at the same time, but, ozone, if you're dealing with a chronic issue that's, if it's bacterial or viral related, you've got to knock that down before you allow your body to repopulate and take back over.
Yeah. And we can include, I have a whole microbiome diet webinar and shopping list. We'll put those in the show notes to this, so that if any of you guys don't have that yet, you can get that. Yeah. And I just want to point people that we have a promo code for you. It's Thrive, and that'll take 7% off your order total. Yep. So at promolife.com, you go there, and what's awesome about Tobias's company is that you can just schedule with the salesperson there to really go over. It's so important. Like I spent an hour with your salesperson to go over, everything I was looking for in the long term, because I only wanted to make this investment once. I didn't want to get the cheaper one and then decide I wanted a sauna later and then need the dual one, blah, blah, blah. But it was great, just taking time to go through why I'm going to use it, how I'm going to use it, what attachments I'm going to need. Because I get really excited about new things. And, I wanted my kid who's got this little cavity right where her braces are, and they won't do anything until the braces come out. I wanted to be able to just get that ozone right on that tooth right away, because they're shown that it can reverse cavities. I mean, it's crazy. Stuff we were told that it can't do, it can do.
It's amazing. It not only will it'll harden up your enamel, but it's a great desensitizer as well. So if you have sensitivity issues in the mouth, ozonated water is amazing. I personally think ozonated water is the best mouthwash you could ever use. I mean, you'll notice that if you're susceptible to a lot of plaque buildup, that plaque buildup will diminish immensely with the use of ozonated water. It's so one other cool thing I like to talk about with ozone is how it's also used with like joints. So a lot of people who have joint pain, they'll also do this therapy with ozone called ozone or prolozone therapy. It's where they actually inject. It's actually developed by Frank Schellenberger. They inject a little bit of ozone gas into the joint, and what it's doing is it's stimulating a healing response, but it's also reducing inflammation. And the cool thing about it is, and this is weird, this is like medically not proven, but it actually eliminates a lot of the scar tissue or turns that scar tissue back into healthy tissue. So you'll see it blows my mind. We're seeing like professional athletes starting to do this. Like it's becoming way more mainstream than people think. Like my wife, she had a 8 mil herniated disc. She was like bedridden and they were like, oh, you need surgery. Here's toss her a bunch of opioids. Take this. And like nothing was getting better. And so I was like, let's get some ozone injections and we're back. And so we go get her treatment. She was basically on the couch like for like a solid month and a half. And so as soon as we get to the guy that we know who's doing the ozone injection, within 3 days, she's back to work at 80%. And it just like, it blew her mind. And like people were like, what did you do? I was like, we did ozone. They're like, what is ozone? I was like,
so for people looking for, what is that? I know there's ozone therapists. Yeah. This is different though. This is like a doctor who's using ozone, who's what, an integrative medicine doctor?
Well, most people who provide ozone therapy should be providing prolozone as well. So if you're doing anything IV with ozone, which is a really cool treatment, chances are this individual is also doing ozone injections into the joint. So I would say you're going to see about a 90% crossover with them doing the same thing.
Okay. And so what should people search for?
They can search for prolozone, Prolozone, prolozone therapy.
Prolozone therapy.
You'll see like, interestingly enough, like certain chiropractors will do it. A lot of like MDs will do it. Sports medicine people will do it. It's just a really cool thing. If you have like joint issues, it seems to work really, really well.
Yeah. And I've had it done in my lymph nodes, where cool. I had swelling from cancer. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, it is really cool to see decreased inflammation in areas.
You mentioned actually injecting into the tonsils as well. Like people, they do that for tonsil stuff like all the time. And it works really, really well. Like if you have an inflamed tonsil as well, it works great for that. You can literally inject ozone just about anywhere and it's not going to hurt you. And I do want to point out, like, people might feel like, why would you inject a gas into the body? That seems very counterintuitive. But the takeaway is when we inject ozone gas into our body, it's being fed with pure oxygen. So what we're doing is we're voiding all the nitrogen out of that gas stream. Nitrogen is what is causing the embolisms or causing the issues. So we've removed that one part of the gas stream that could potentially cause issues. So as long as we utilize that pure oxygen tank of ozone right here, we're not going to have any of those issues whatsoever.
Yeah. And from what I understand, it only lasts 0.3 seconds in the body before it turns into peroxides. Like it changes so fast.
It's got a super, super short half-life. And so, and it's because it's so soluble. It literally absorbs into our cells so quickly. And, it's once it's in there, it's gone. It turns into like oxides or peroxides. And then it just goes to work. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah. And if anyone wants, like that Ozone Miracle book by Schellenberger, it's a very quick read. It's on Kindle. It's worth just getting up to speed on it. So in terms of people that have autoimmune disease or cancer, like when I was working with a doctor, I'm in Mexico a lot. We have a place there. And one of my doctors down there is very ozone friendly. And he was telling me like just different, not just like, basically different gamma levels for autoimmune versus cancer, and cancer being much lower and and then autoimmune being much higher gamma. Is there, in terms of like people getting that kind of information and working with someone specifically with maybe they have a scary diagnosis and they want to use ozone at home, where do you send them?
So, there's a lot of practitioners who promote ozone at home. And so they incorporate it, like they look at it like this, like if you're going to go get an ozone IV or do like systemic ozone in your doctor's office, they're all about that, but they also know the practicality of it as well. Like a lot of these people are traveling 3, 4, 5 hours just to get a treatment. Yep. And they know that's not sustainable for a lot of individuals. So they want those individuals to keep coming back for treatments, but they need them to also do home ozone at the same time to keep those ozone levels elevated. And so they will also recommend doing home ozone. So they can give some pretty good guidance as far as like what type of treatments they should do at home. We can also provide some guidance. Really what it boils down to with ozone, if you've never really had any experience with it, is basically starting low and slow. So you see how your body reacts. We really just want individuals to feel good when they do ozone therapy. If you're not feeling good after ozone therapy, chances are it's too strong. You're receiving too much. You need to back it down a little bit. We want people to feel really good afterwards. And so, like I said, a lot of practitioners are helping promote it and talking to you about what the patient can do at home. We're there to help. Like I said previously, dental offices are expecting their patients to do this as well. But ultimately, like ozone is an immune modulator. It really does help balance your body out. So, there's a lot of resources out there if people want to get into it, and especially if they're having a practitioner helping them out with it.
Yeah. Well, and just the feasibility of, and I just want to go over the insufflation. So what that means is like you fill a bag of ozone, you can put it through a bubbler so it's moisturized by water, or not, or just have the straight gas. And then you can basically it's like an enema of air. So that's called an insufflation, or you can do it vaginally if you're female. And then the other ways are through your sauna. If you have a sauna that your head is out because you can't breathe it in, making the water insufflating, or making your own oil, ozonated oil. And then with that, you have different therapies with the lungs. And then all the other applications you mentioned, like where you're mixing it with saline and then doing eyes and direct gas into the ears, like my mom's doing. So it's really, what I found was like, wow, the deeper I went on my cancer journey, the more I just ran into chemistry. Like that's what it seemed like. It just was like chemistry. And then ozone made so much sense to me because it's just chemistry. It's just straight up how oxygen molecules and electrons work.
Ozone's so cool. It literally, it helps oxygenate your body more. And we all know that, most cancers thrive in, like sugar. I think one other cool, this is starting to become a lot more research now, is some of the things that they're thinking is cancer is derived from viruses. And so they're able to eliminate. It's
dysbiosis, right?
Yes,
it's extreme dysbiosis. That's the conclusion I hit. Yeah.
And so if you're able to I always look at it as viral load. Okay. So ozone, what we would do a lot after traveling, if we wanted to potentially not get sick, is we would fill up a little syringe with ozone like this. And most viruses or pathogens are going to accumulate in the nasal passage, and that's where they start the replication. And then you start getting sick. So what we would do is we just shoot a little bit of ozone gas up our nose. We're not breathing the ozone, we're just letting it hit our passages. And all it's doing is it's knocking down the viral load, because ozone, when it comes in contact with the virus, will kill it virtually instantaneously. So killing is the wrong word. It deactivates the viruses instantaneously. And so you're never going to develop resistance to ozone because of how it works through oxidation, even same with bacteria. So really what our goal is to lower the viral load. And when we do that, it gives our body's immune system a much better chance of dealing with the situation.
So, the studies on that with, it was even SARS-CoV-1. I ran into this when I was writing Uninflamed. It was like just if you can get the microbiome and the sinuses to produce nitric oxide, you're going to just take your viral load straight down, and then it doesn't go into the lungs, right? And so this is just like that on steroids. It's just faster to the chase.
Yeah, exactly. So our whole goal was to lower the viral load. Your chances of getting sick are substantially dropped. And so it was pretty simple. It was honestly really simple. And
really simple. You don't need the flu shot. Yeah.
And the funny thing was, before 2020, there were a bunch of products, especially in the dentistry market, where they were actually advocating you shooting up solutions up your nose solely to lower your viral load. And so it was already
nitric oxide solutions. Yeah.
It was already a known thing that this was a doable thing.
Yeah, we knew that. No, it got buried. That research got buried by legacy media.
You can't do anything. And you're like, what is going on here?
Why are we? Yeah. So freaking bizarre. Some of those studies were 2005 on nitric oxide.
it's been around a lot longer than people think. I mean, this is something that people are doing. And all of a sudden it's like it never existed.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm super psyched to send my people in Club Thrive to get their own equipment so that they can do all this at home and have it for life, make the one-time investment. So promolife.com, you guys, you get a 7% discount if you use Thrive, THRIVE, all caps. And go ahead and use the talk to us button and schedule your sales conversation. And then just plan on a half an hour on the setup of you got to learn how to use it. But once you do, you're over that hurdle, and then it's you got it for life.
Absolutely. And if questions come up, that's what we're here to answer. I mean, we're going to do our best to allow it to make sense for you so you can, have the best experience possible. Ozone's not complicated. It may look overwhelming at first, but once you understand the functionality, which is not complicated, it's actually incredibly easy to use. So, I mean, we're seeing tons of people getting into this. They're having success. It's growing in popularity. It's one thing that I look at it and I'm like, I'm so glad I have this. I have kids. I have a family. I literally use it on everybody in the household. So.
Dogs included.
Dogs included. Bingo. Yep.
All right, Tobias, I'm so glad we had a chance to catch up.
Thanks so much, kid. I really appreciate it.